Wonderful viewers, you're welcome to your station, The Living Television. We are at it again this morning and this edition of Nigeria Today. Nigeria Today, we are going to look at some issues, topical issues as it affects our country, Nigeria. As usual, from my far left, I have Comrade Nnamdi Elekwachi. Nnamdi Elekwachi is a historian and a public affairs analyst. Comrade, you're welcome to the program.
Thank you. It's good to be here.
After him, I have a regular guest here, Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwagu. Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwagu is a practicing lawyer. Not just a lawyer, he's also a security consultant and a public affairs analyst. Barrister, welcome to the program.
Thank you, and good day, viewers.
And as usual, I am your anchorman, Chinedum Adelia. All right, today, despite all warnings, IPOB's statement against the Simon Ekpa's 5-day sit at home in the southeast, and Ohanaeze Ndigbo's clearance call to the Ebonyi State Governor, Dave Umahi, to call their son to order some hoodlums in the name of that sit at home order on Saturday killed 3 yet to be identified persons, including a pregnant woman and also a white patrol vehicle of the police burnt, even after the warnings this time. And then let us start by who is EPA and what has been EPA's role in the struggle of IPOB, Comrade.
Okay, thank you so much. I think EPA, to a reasonable extent, has always been advocating for a restoration or creation, carving out from the Nigerian states. The plebiscite is how that has to be achieved through plebiscite. But I think he's been in the spotlight now, especially following the invention of Nnamdi Kanu, where the organization suffered some setback because of the issue of command and the structure of the leadership. I think to an extent, it may even interest you to know that there are more than 5 of these groups now, in addition to Adobe, and you have even the ones that go by a Zionist tag. There are many of them now. Some even are faceless, some are not even known, yes. And that is one of the things that you see when the leadership command of a movement is centralized on one person. So the absence of that person may create a chaotic environment where other elements begin to do what want to dominate the scene. The problem is not even about the spiritual model, is that people don't even know who is enforcing which one now, and that is the problem. And to me, it has not totally achieved any positive thing for us as a people and as a region. In as much as I understand that yes, the question of Biafra, like I have always said on other platforms, need to be reopened by the federal government. If you go to Rwanda, you see they still talk about the genocide of 1994. Germany, they still talk about the genocide of 1930s to 1945. Elsewhere, they still talk about. The other day in Namibia, they were talking about Germany. Apologize for what happened to the Herero and the Namaka people. You understand? When Germany was colonizing that part of the world, until it was withdrawn from her. Now, it's Nigeria opening up for conversation to happen. Nigeria is not opening up, and that's why you're beginning to see this struggle. And then coupled with the idiosyncrasy of President Muhammadu Buhari, who is not even open to entertain anything, we are beginning to see people buy in. Because
okay, we will come to that.
That's what we see when, and then if you look at the insecurity in the country, in this part of the country, is also heightening because nobody knows who is calling the shots. That's the problem.
It's okay, Barrister. Looking at this, the moment this news went round, the IPOB leader Nnamdi Kanu, through his lawyer, announced that they know nothing about that. Nobody is calling for a 5-day sit at home, and they are not part of it. He also spoke through their spokesperson, Imapaf, shortly before Ohanaeze now came up to say it is a welcome development not to have anything like sit at home, especially at this festive period. And Nnamdi Kanu exonerated himself and the members of IPOB from this 5-day sit at home. Though Ikpa insisted, Ohanaeze Ndigbo even had to call on the governor of the state to call their son to order And yet, some hoodlums, in the name or printers of that 5-day sit at home, attacked in Enugu, killing some.
Well, if you have followed closely what has been happening regarding IPOB, at a time IPOB became a rallying point, exercising great cohesive force in the southeastern region of Nigeria. And there have been this argument in some quarters that the state, and I mean by that I mean the Nigerian state, in a bid to break that cohesion and divide their ranks, began to sponsor and fund a splinter group referred to as the Autopilot group or faction of the IPOB. And it is said that the leader of this Autopilot is Simon Ekpa. It is also stated in some quarters that this group is being used by the state to discredit the mainstream IPOB. They are like an extremist arm or group or faction that uses the name of IPOB to do certain things that would not appeal to people, that would bring bad name to IPOB, and thereby whittle down the influence of the mainstream IPOB. The self-acclaimed leader, which is Simon Ekpa, is not resident in Nigeria. He's from Ebonyi State. But he, at any little opportunity, he would always want to stay there in Finland, where he is based, to dictate to his houseboys here in Nigeria, sit at home, sit at home. His own job there is going on. He's earning his livelihood. He's enjoying the peace and security there in Finland. But back home here, by his utterances, he is fomenting trouble. At a time when the mainstream IPOB is beginning to reevaluate the entire situation, because that is part of good leadership. The hallmark of good leadership, that when you've taken certain steps, after a while, you turn back and do a post-mortem, reevaluate your situation and your position, whether to continue along the path you have been taking or whether to make adjustments. And you find that even from the last time he was in court, Mazi Nnamdi Kanu made a point that went down well with a whole lot of Southeasterners, that there is no way, if I could paraphrase him, not exactly quoting him, but that there is no way we can be going against the people that we are projecting their cause and defending. And that is an argument that I personally, I buy in on any day. You cannot be said to be acting in the interest of people, and then you are taking steps or making comments that go against their interest and welfare and well-being, that impact negatively on them. When he made that comment, it went down well with a whole lot of, in fact, the entire Igbo nation welcomed, and that was the day Ohaneze and Igbo, took also another step in the right direction, started championing his cause frontally, asking and advocating that he be released unconditionally. So what Simon Ekpa and co are doing is spoiling the show for IPOB, spoiling the show for the Southeastern. You don't just wake up. What point are you making? What point do you hope to achieve by telling Igbos are into commerce. We are basically businessmen. So some people down here can only feed when they go out daily. And you tell them to sit at home for 5 straight days and do nothing. Who takes care of their feeding? How do you feed their family? How do you care about their well-being? Every day you just stay there and tell us, sit at home, and nothing is. At a time, we are in the Christmas, the month of Christmas, December. This is a time that the Igbos make their highest sales and business. People are preparing to go home, and all you are just doing there is telling us to sit at home, while your own business goes. So I don't think it's a disposition that is helping the cause of both the Southeast or the IPOB.
All right, away from that, the PDP presidential candidate, Atiku Abubakar, said his meetings with Governor Nyesom Wike have no way forward. According to him, he said he has met with Wike 2 times in Abuja, 2 times in Port Harcourt, and once in London. And once in London. And then that personally, it is on the other side. It is not favorable. And he's saying that the whole thing is not against him, but Governor Wike himself. Comrade.
Yes, I think I did say here some time ago that in fact, we cannot achieve any meaningful thing in all these just settlements. Because we all know that Atiku is not willing to buckle down, or that the chairman of the party quits his position, even after making a verbal commitment to it. We've seen all these things. We've seen that even Wike himself is not letting up too. And that what Wike wants is that the chairman's position be vacated, and then someone from the south be there. Now, Atiku is now relying on the strength of the constitution of the PDP, which talks about zoning. If a chairman is removed, somebody from his zone should also be put there. Now, the question should be, are there antecedents? Yes, there are a whole lot of them. I remember when our own late Obulafor was actually removed, someone from the north replaced him. But the question remains, like I have always said, what we are seeing is just clash of interest between these 2 persons. They were people who were interested in vying for the office of the president, and we saw how it all panned out and how it ended. We also the betrayers, the smart moves, and every other thing, even the shenanigans. But for me, I would say I would advise Atiku, if I have his ear, that it's not just about going to the media and be talking about it. You understand? He should also adopt other means. He should adopt other means. But then, where Wike is today, he seems to have crossed the Rubicon. If you look at his body language, including the edicts or the laws we've seen him come up with, he seems to have crossed the Rubicon.
All right, Council, the meeting with Wike 5 or 20 times, do you think it has any meaning when Wike is talking about a particular thing and has never shifted ground since he started saying that same thing? And then you're talking about meeting him. What have you been meeting him for?
That is it.
Council.
Well, in politics, it's basically about interest. Wike has his interest as a person, as an individual, and he has found support in the company of some other governors who share his views. He is entrenched in his position. He appears unwavering, unyielding, and unbending. Coincidentally, Alhaji Atiku Abubakar equally shares a similar disposition, unyielding, unbending, and not willing to shift grounds. In some of these board games, you refer to that as a stalemate. But then, something has to give. Like Comrade said, that if he had Atiku's ears, he would advise him. Yes. Personally, if I have his ears, as well as the ears of Governor Nyesom Wike, I would advise both of them to shift ground. It is a basic rule of negotiation that you don't always get all that you set out to ask for. At the end of the day, you must shift grounds. I am sure that each of them can shift ground, both of them, either of them. However, in shifting ground, you would now look at the opportunity cost of the shifting of ground. Okay, I'm insisting that Ayu must go. On your own part, you say Ayu must not go. For me to concede and allow Ayu to remain, look at the next alternative, the next thing that you would place on the table or offer to me. If I get this, I can concede. It is now up to the man that you have made that proposition to determine whether the proposition is acceptable or not, because sometimes the second option might be worse than the first one, the initial one. However, I still maintain that yes, it is possible to shift ground. This is politics. In politics, no permanent friend, no permanent enemy. What you have is permanent interest.
All right, let us away from that. In Obasanjo's visit to the Ohanaeze Ndigbo National Secretariat in Enugu State, in the company of Afenifere leader Pa Ayo Adebanjo and Peter Obi, he said, "I have gone to prison, shed blood for Nigeria. Nobody can threaten me over my preferred candidate." That's what Obasanjo saying, because it's like some of his people in Yoruba are now against him for supporting an Easterner while their brother is contesting. Let me start with you.
Yes, thank you so much. I think Obasanjo has never enjoyed popular support of the Yoruba. Yes, I have an issue. Not even as a military head of state.
Even when he became the first time
president,
while on the 16th AD.
Yes, and I will know what he fought with Tinubu over the issue of revenue and the creation of the development areas in Lagos State and the withholding of their revenues, and how it all ended in the court and what judgment was handed down. We all know that during the 1993 June 12th, President Olusegun Obasanjo, who had aspired to be the UN Secretary General and lost to Butus Bitugale of Egypt, he said something. He said Abiola may not be the political messiah Nigerians are looking for. I'm saying what he said. But there is one thing we must give to Obasanjo. He is somebody who is who believes in his principle. If you look at him very well, you see that he has been churning out letters, volume of letters, to every administration, to anything he feels or he's not at home. But there is something that movement actually reminded me. You know, after the war, there was that talk of handshake across the Niger. That's between the Yoruba and the Igbo to reconcile and begin to build political alliance. But the relevance is to be seen in the fact that ever since Peter Obi declared his candidacy, he's been accepted by Afenifere. And there has been backlash back home there at the region. Now, what Obasanjo has done is to stamp his position, to make you know that he is for this person. We've seen even by mannerism and gesture how he stood up and sat Obi on his chair and said, "My work is done." He speaks to something. But just look at it this way. See, what Obasanjo has done is to begin the conversation with Ohanaeze, telling Ohanaeze, you have to take it up from here. Ohanaeze is also expected, because if you look at it very, very well, I'm sorry to say this, but it's actually the fact. If we are to go by zoning or by the so-called equity principle, it should be the Southeast. And then if you have to go about competence, Peter Obi is not about the least competent person in the race. He's one of the most competent. And if you go about what campaign he's brought to bear, the issue-based campaign, I give it to him, he's leading for now. So it is left for Ohaneze to begin to say, this is our political way. We are trying to market for Nigeria completely. Begin to build bridges, begin to connect, begin to shake hands across other regions, and begin to do what. Now see, even the Niger Delta, some of them are even supporting Peter Obi. So what Obasanjo Sanjo has done is to say this is an idea whose time is right. Mind you, he said he fought for Nigeria and he shed blood and he's done virtually everything. He's been detained, you understand, under Abacha days. So this is a man who has actually seen it all. And he doesn't require, sometimes he appears to be a non-conformist among his people. He doesn't require you. Or yes, he says it as he feels it. He doesn't even want to care about your own opinion. And we was also give it to him. He's done well for the nation. So it's left for the South-Easterners, including our governors here, to begin to join the conversation, if it suits them.
All right, Council, he also said that the problem we have in our hands in Nigeria is not ethnic, it is national. And for him, he said the most important thing in a leader is character.
Well, I don't know how he arrived at the conclusion that our problem is not ethnic. I would, much as I love him, he's a father, but on this one, I disagree with Nnanyi Obasanjo. I vehemently disagree with him. The national is a product of the different ethnic groups that we have in Nigeria. You cannot be talking about national and nationality without the ethnic nationalities. It's not possible. So the respective ethnic groups, their conglomeration is what has given rise to the Nigerian state, to the nation. So I disagree. I would rather say that our problem stems basically from two major areas. On those two legs stand now all the other problems. Ethnicity / tribalism, that's one. And then religion. Take out these two, and people would begin to
appreciate their
see things from a different perspective. These two tainted glasses, looking glasses, that we, each and every one of us in this nation, has been viewing things. That is the cause of the problem in Nigeria. It's like having a red glass, covering one eye, and then a blue glass covering the other eye, or you have blue in one, yellow in one. You now tend to see everything as a mixture of that. So it plays out when we want to employ. It plays out when we want to appoint. It plays out when we want to vote. It plays out when we even want to travel. It plays out in our respective churches. Ethnicity plays out in our respective churches. Some time ago, just behind us here at Imo State, Mbise, you saw what happened in the Catholic diocese there. They refused to allow a particular fellow Igbo man, but they said he wouldn't be their bishop. He was made bishop, he was a consecrated bishop, and they said, no, you will not come in. This is within the same...
I was very much aware of what they were talking about. Even at that time, somebody from the same Mbise was the VC in Oka. I was there then.
So it's really a problem. These come down to the respective states. You want to give appointment.
Yes.
You begin to dabble into those things. And so, the foundation for this crime, it is an evil, is laid in the Constitution. The makers of the Constitution originally intended that it should serve as protection for the weak, the minority, the less privileged in terms of numerical and political strength. However, people are now using it negatively to witch hunt, to victimize, and to deviate from that which is good, such that when merit now comes up, nobody wants to look at merit.
Okay, shortly before we go on break, Obasanjo also said, if I put my hand on someone, it means that comparing with the other,
Yeah.
I see there is a merit in the person
Yes.
I have chosen as a person, not for me, but for Nigerians.
But Obasanjo cannot choose for Nigeria. He can always choose for himself. That's just the fact. Although there is a measure of influence he wears, and if he says this kind of things, or these things he says, there is a tendency for opinion among a particular people, especially those who believe in him, in his school of thought, his ideology, his ways of politicking. There is tendency for them to sway towards the particular candidate he's identifying with. He is just expressing his right as a Nigerian to say. And for him to have said that, mind you, that is his truth. Truth will only relative to him because he's worked with all these other persons, either as governors, either as ministers or senators. He's worked with them. He's been a president when they all of them, including Atiku, who was the vice president when he was the president, who sat next to him in the executive council, including also Tinubu, who was also a governor when he was a president, including Kwankwaso, all of them, you understand. He has had ways he interacted with them, and so he speaks from relatively his own perception and then on understanding of Peter Obi, his choice candidate. He's not meditating. He's been so vocal about it. So that's his own view. Just like Babangida, just like every other person who is a stakeholder in the politics, even all of us here have our own views. But the fact remains that people should also look at what Obasanjo is saying. If he says this candidate is good, try to subject that candidate, try to critique, try to analyze, try to assess, try to evaluate the candidate to know whether he's passed the right message. Because Obasanjo has been there, he has seen it all, he has lived it, and let me say it, what he's doing now, he doesn't even seem to have any personal or selfish interest in it. He is down the road of age. Just like the African man said, he said it's not for him, he's already old and advanced, it's for the future. So it is left for Nigerians to begin to interrogate that choice, that process, and say, is this person really worth being there now?
Okay, Council, do you think what Obasanjo is doing is mere personal, or he's also trying to ensure that there will be a better tomorrow? Remember, he had always warned that if we miss it in 2023, we are all doomed.
Well, do not forget that I said politics borders on selfish interest. Interest is always paramount, and interest is permanent. No friend and no enemy.
Permanent friend.
Yes, no permanent friend, no permanent enemy. All you have is permanent interest. Like Comrade said, Obasanjo is entitled to his views.
He has one vote.
And he can only give one vote. However, you must also concede that at his level, he wields influence over certain people. Just like you and I seated here, there are people who before they vote would ask us questions.
Yes.
If no other person, at least members of your household, not that they must go by your directive,
Exactly, yes.
but they will ask you. So I have several people cut across religious divide, ethnic divide, political divide, asking me questions. Where do we go from here? And of course, I know what I tell them. So he is entitled to his view. When people have interest, you may not know what their interest may be. The interest they may be telling you, presenting, may not be the real interest. You may have the remote, you may have the immediate, you may have the short term, medium term, and long term.
Okay, going away from that, the World Bank has said that Nigeria is in worsening situation with economic performance becoming weaker as inflation persists. And not just that, he said during this his presentation, the World Bank lead economist for Nigeria, Alex Sienat, noted that the Nigerian minimum wage, which was what 30,000 in 2019, could be valued at 19,355 naira as we speak. That is today. This means that there had been a loss of 34.48% value between 2019 and 2022 as inflation erodes Nigeria purchasing power. Remember yesterday we tried to exhaust these, the other part of the analysis they had in November before they now come up with this. I'm talking about the 30,000 minimum wage. And you know, Sowore had said the other time it's going to be 250, while the Labour Party says it's going to be 80,000, between 80 and 100,000 naira.
You see, it doesn't even require us to talk much about it or even drag it, that the situation of things as of 2019, when this 30,000 naira was proposed, mind you, many governors rejected it flatly. Many governors said they cannot implement it, it's not feasible. Some agreed, most of whom are not even paying it. When you say 30,000 naira minimum, it means the least person in your cadre earns 30,000 naira. So it also reflects, although it may not be in the same percentage, going forward, the salaries of the higher up, people in the top echelon. But there is something about it. In 2019, we are talking about, I think inflation was about 14% or so. Now, inflation is about 21.4, 21.9%. It means that the purchasing power is declining. And when you have purchasing power declining, people cannot buy food to eat. People cannot take care of them. That is what you call the basics of economy. The scholars in economics talk about food, shelter, and clothing. These three things are now becoming, in fact, they are becoming, they are getting out of reach of the common man. So the question becomes, how have Nigerians fared from 2019 alone to 2021 or 2022? Now, I'll tell you something. By 2019, we were still working with the assumption that 88 million Nigerians were poor from 2018 Brookings report. But by 2022 now, we are being told that more 45, I think we did the
130 some years.
More 45 million Nigerians have slumped into poverty. And it is as clear as daylight that you can see it. Now ask yourself, before now we know what it used to look like in the festive period. You no longer see even the overseas vehicles, you no longer see people coming back, the atmosphere is just dry and drab. Go to market. Even
the masquerades. It's affecting the land of the, even in the land of the spirits. The ancestors are also being affected by the poverty and inflation.
Let's not even try to look at the indices or even look at the oil and
the spirits are affected.
Or the so-called subsidy.
But it's everything. Masquerade.
Collecting money, yes, moving and dancing.
There's no money to be collected by the masquerades. The spirits are on strike. The ancestors are equally.
If they have not even taken a leave.
Okay, Council, please. It is good we also look at this because there are a lot of people who depend on this analysis we do here. You know, talking about 2019 until now, talking about the value of even the 30,000 that has not been fully implemented by all the states.
Let me tell you, sir. By 2019, a simple question: could you buy a bag of rice for under 30,000? The answer was then yes. The answer yes.
Something 30,000.
Yes, it was less than
23,000, 24,000.
Less than 30,000. Today, can you buy a bag of rice with 30,000?
No.
You cannot. I think that will help to summarize what we are saying, or bring it down, because yes,
minimum.
Comrade was playing with indices, which you would necessarily use to, generate those drafts and histograms that the economists would like to project and use it to make references. But the way the average in the village
sees it,
the way the average day in the village would understand what we are saying is that by 2019, what would you be able to use 30,000 to achieve? Compare it with what you can use 30,000 to achieve today, and you would know that no matter how you look at it, truth be told, the 30,000 minimum wage is nowhere.
This is why we must take a critical look into the third tier of government on Tuesday. It's good to we analyze it better, because I remember before the last time I did this was in 2016.
Yeah.
I buy bags of rice, give to widows in my community.
Yes.
But today, I can't even afford a bag of rice.
I shared my plight here.
No, you are owing us. No, you are owing. We agreed that you will share rice to us, and we are holding you by your word.
24th December,
the thing you said just reminded me something
that will be too late. Let's do it by 23rd.
Council, I will just remember something. In the 80s, early 80s and late 80s, people will gather at their backs to travel to the village. I'm talking about Ababa and the rest of them.
Yes.
They will receive bags of rice from those who have. It will be
Yes.
shared at their backs.
Yes.
It was shared at their
So that when you get home, you have something
you have
to eat. You come home with food.
All right, we are praying we will get back to those good old days. Well, we are going to go on a very short break, and we'll be back. And as soon as we're back, Nigeria Today continues. Don't go away. Still your darling station, The Living TV. We'll be back.
Allow me to enjoy myself. Allow me,
Have you heard that Living Television, the latest satellite station on SatView channel, is received all over Nigeria and Africa? You can watch Living Television on every free-to-air HD decoder, including Strong HD and CSAT HD. Why keep paying for monthly subscriptions when you can have fun for free? With Living Television, you can watch lots of wrestling, football, documentaries, and Nigerian films, including discussions and debates on current Nigeria issues. Watch free live matches on La Liga Spain cum Serie A, Italy cum Bundesliga, German League 1, and French matches on over 80 premium channels. Wow! You can also sponsor your programs such as live church services and crusades, political rallies, burial and wedding ceremonies, promotional interviews, announcements, advertisements, documentaries, and commercials. We are situated at number 1 Judges Street off Ikorekwane Road, Aba, Abia State. For further enquiries, call 0805 367 3900. Signed, Management.
allow me,
I am glad you're there watching Living TV. We are back. Remember, I still Nigeria Today, looking at some of the issues as it affects us and our country, Nigeria. All right, we're talking about the minimum wage of 2019, 30,000 naira, and then what it's worth as we speak today is less than 20,000 naira. And yet, we are talking about minimum wage, we're just talking about the civil servants as it concerns the government.
Yeah.
What about those who are in private sectors? Do you know some people still receive up to 10,000, 15,000?
Yes, it's that bad. You see, the other day we were treated to the fact in the news that workers in the United Kingdom are striking, that they are threatening to strike, and they are been protesting. Why? There is inflation. Understand? Every worker should expect. You see how economics work. If you see how the economics work, when there is inflation, a worker expects that there should be what? Concession.
Yes.
You understand? To make them float. But unfortunately, it is not the situation here. The government will tell you it has done its best, it's doing its best to make sure that yet the same government is using the same inflation as a parameter to benchmark budget, even when it is not realizable. And that is the hypocrisy in the Nigerian system. We don't even value our workforce. The other day I have been talking about how do we mobilize the productive forces in Nigeria. Do you know what we have in this country? So that is why you are seeing people leave this country and they now call it Japan.
Japan.
And they are happy. They are happy. We have lost at a particular point in time. We lost within I think a year or so. We lost about 500 doctors.
Now they are going for teachers.
They are going for teachers.
Now they are going for teachers.
You understand? And Nigeria is the catchment area. It's unfortunate that some of our politicians are treated abroad by our own brothers here. You understand? Some of them, all these appointments they have abroad is with our own here. So it's high time Nigeria begins to recalibrate, to talk about the distribution of what you see. A senator cannot collect 20 million naira, 15 million naira in a month. And somebody who has been working, a class teacher is being owed 6 months, 7 months, 30 years, 1 year, 5 years, at state level, at federal level too.
Okay, Council, we're talking about this. We are looking at the private sector. So what I know you have a clerk in your office, because you have a clerk in your office, just like those of us who are in some private places. And then if we are asking the government to do something, what about those in the private sector?
Well, if you come to a place like Aba, I took time to make an observation. The women who hitherto had been in the homes are beginning to take over virtually everywhere. And I am beginning to wonder whether we are having a decline in the number of men alive. In those days, in the primary schools, we used to have predominantly female teachers.
Yeah.
Kindergarten, nursery, primary school, female teachers.
Yeah.
We were not calling them auntie. We used to call them miss. When we went to school, later on, they are now aunties. And by the time we got to secondary schools, we saw in the secondary schools more of male teachers, even in tertiary institutions. But go there today, both secondary schools, tertiary institutions, the females are beginning to dominate. When some of us came to the bar, we had few female magistrates. At the time I came to the bar, yes, we had about, then in Imo State, we had, I think, about 2 or 3 female judges in the entire Imo State. And gradually, the number kept on increasing. I'm building up to something, so kindly give me some little time. Today, you get to the judiciary, the magistracy has been taken over. It now looks, when you see a male magistrate, he looks out of place, sort of. He looks a bit odd.
Because of
Yes,
the dominance
and
of
unique. Because, yes. You go to the Ministry of Justice, it is the same thing. You come to even the legal profession, check the number of ladies that were called against the number of their male counterparts in the last call session had last week. They are giving the men a run for their money. Now let me come back to. I know why I deliberately started from my constituency, the legal profession. You get back to what is now happening at the way houses. That's actually where I'm targeting. If you,
Even the one we have down here.
fine. I live at Azikiwe Road, where you have several warehouses, and you get there every day, from morning till evening. You have different batches of women slugging it out with each other. The men are now consigned to the level and responsibility of getting the heavy stuff out from the containers, dropping them, putting them into the warehouse, and then moving them in smaller bulk from the warehouses to carts that they use. But the people that are now doing the business are the women. You go to the market, wherever, they're no more staying at home. What point am I trying to make? Is that it is all because of the economy. So you no longer have a situation where a woman is Oriako. We no longer have Oriako. Onya Oriako. No, not anymore. You now have Odoziako and Osodiachi. Osodiagoko, Odoziako.
That's it.
The women have all come out from the homes. Time has gone when a woman's place is in the kitchen. No, not anymore. Or in the other room, as Oga Chief Driver will call. No, it's no more. Their road is no more consigned to the other room. You know, all because of the economy. So that is to show you what the purchasing power. We are talking about the. No, not just that. We are talking about the private sector.
Yeah, the private sector.
Yes. So whether it is the public sector, that's the point I was making, or the private sector, yes. You go to the banking industry, the same thing, especially among the marketers. There was a time before some measure of sanity was restored. There was a time that virtually every marketing officer was a female. It happened just some years ago. You come to the broadcast industry, very soon they will be taken over everywhere. And our Oga moderator, your position is being threatened by some of these. I can see several of them that you are doing a good job of training and propping up here, and they are watching. Very soon they will tell you Oga shift. So that's it. It's not funny. It's not really funny anyway.
All right, following the release into the circulation of the newly designed denomination of 200, 500, 1,000 by the Central Bank of Nigeria, some commercial banks are still paying their customers with their old note. I visited a bank yesterday. If you're looking for 100,000 naira, they'll give you
a form.
They'll give you a form, and they won't give you the new naira note. And even as we speak, it's only 100,000 that is in circulation. Not the 200.
100,000 or 1,000.
I mean 1,000 naira.
Yes.
Not the 200, not the 500 even.
Yes.
As at yesterday, 2 banks I visited. And if you are coming for 100,000 naira,
upwards,
they will give you 99,000 of the old note and add 1 new 1,000 naira note.
What's wrong with that? What is wrong with that? Sorry, my brother, don't be offended.
The announcement is that this money will be in the banks tomorrow, and people can access them.
You have taken one aspect of the announcement and you have left the other aspect.
What other aspect?
That the old note will remain legal tender till 31st.
Yes. That is not it's acceptable. But what we are saying is that this one is very limited.
Remember also what we said here, that Oga Chief Driver has vowed to make it difficult, if not impossible, for vote buying. Apart from the fact that you cannot withdraw, have cash more than 100,000 in a week. Even if you're going to get, it will be the old note.
The National Assembly.
My brother, continue.
The National Assembly is still battling with that.
Yes, they told them yesterday to review that policy, but I have this apprehension each time we talk about this policy trying to curtail vote buying and the rest of them, or voter inducement. It was in this country that a politician, when we know the cap, the limit of money, you don't carry. We know what billion vans carry. We know they normally carry millions in tens. You understand what I'm saying now? It was in this country that 2 billion vans were sighted, spotted, seen, driving
an individual's
inside an individual's
at Bodilon.
Yes, at Bodilon. So somewhere in Ikoyi. This same man will grant interview and say the money belongs to him, it doesn't belong to you. So he will use his money how he wants. That man said that thing. And now, what is the possibility that people like that will not have cash to share during the next communication? Now, mind you that the EFCC stormed the primary grounds, PDP, APC primary grounds, yet dollars, pounds, and the rest of it. We are being traded, yes. And the implication was that after that particular era, the naira crashed more. But nobody is talking about all this. These same people who are coming to rule us are sabotaging us. Today we are hearing the news how they are harvesting. Okay, we even talked about it. How they were harvesting their VIN, voter identification number, from the PVCs. How they are paying money to get these PVCs. Even it was worse that INEC said yesterday that people are selling their PVCs in the north as low as 2,000 naira. To sell their PVC.
Hunger.
The same people who are buying this PVC.
Hunger has been weaponized.
Weaponizing poverty and hunger. The same people who failed to create job opportunities. So when they say they are using this naira to fight this, I am asking the question: how are we sure it will not be an exclusionary policy that favors certain individuals?
But if this is the council, if this is the Buhari we used to know,
yeah,
don't you think that this
Well,
policy was
remember that when this particular policy was announced here on this program, amongst many or several, I had expressed similar fears that Comrade just did now about the bona fides of the ruling APC, their ability to, not use it as a ruse to dispossess rivals and opponents.
Yes, and themselves.
Yes, whereas the money will be available only to their own candidates and who would use it for vote buying. However, when Oga Chief Driver came out some couple of days or weeks ago to say we are going to make vote buying unattractive and impossible, and then the CBN went further to begin to limit cash available. That was when some of us who were skeptical about the initial policy now started saying, well, if it will be backed up by this, then there might be, it is possible that there might be some honesty and good faith in what they are doing.
My own counsel,
yes,
I still have fear.
All of us, we all have our fears, but we want to give benefit of doubt.
The minister, a minister in this Buhari cabinet, said something during the campaign somewhere in the north. He said, he spoke in answer. He said, "Is it money? We have it." Okay. A minister said that. Is it money? We have it. I think Hadia Sirika or the person has not been relieved of his duty.
okay? Even as we speak, the Mietiala who asked for extra 3 months to bring out the ones in
Because the money they have is too much.
Money they have in the forest.
Nothing has been had. Anyway, going away from that, the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, EFCC, yesterday said it has recovered over 30 billion naira, from the corruption activities surrounding the suspended Accountant General,
Yes.
the former Accountant General of the Federation, Idris Ahmed, out of the 109 billion.
Yes.
And the 30 billion has been recovered. And he is currently, EFCC is currently prosecuting the man. And then the question now is, comrade, 30 million has been recovered. Before now, 30 billion, sorry. Before now, we've had a lot of recoveries and so on. And yet, nothing has happened. Nigeria is still borrowing.
Yes, I am not even happy with the so-called 30 billion. That's you are talking about 3 months or 4 months ago when this incident happened. When the news broke out that the person, the custodian of our treasury, you understand, dipped his hand there and took money without appropriation, without authorization. You understand? He was relieved. The Ministry of Finance found that we saw the memo circulating about it. Oh, there was going to be justice after all. And up till now, we have only recovered 30 billion. When EFCC is given power, is vested with powers by laws created to fight for financial crime, and this is a financial crime. So you still want to do, unless there are other transactions or banks as a result of this country where the monies were stashed. But when the EFCC has what you call international collaboration, they even want to go with agencies like Interpol and the rest of them to make sure criminals are repatriated and their monies returned. So why will EFCC be up to now? And then mind you, EFCC said something like that, and that was so happy. They said they were having all the candidates within the other. Where are they having all the candidates within the other? The same thing as I'm saying, INEC is empowered by law to bring parties, you understand, to submitting reports. I'm talking about election experiences report. 2019 election, PDP and APC did not submit a line of report. And it is still in the same country. So I think
it's not a private organization that is
after the young man fainted in Abuja when he was trying to talk to the nation,
pretended to have fainted.
Attack. I'm talking about the EFCC boss. You know, he took some big ones, and then even the so-called EFCC was at the point headed by Magu, whose corruption we know about.
Yes.
Why haven't EFCC prosecuted him? Even today, Ike Ekweremadu was saying that EFCC is behind his travels. But that's just by the way. So myself, I want to see and hear EFCC do more. This is more. And then again, the ones they have recovered so far, what have they done with them? That's
actually the question.
What have they done with them?
Because when you try to get them to say, okay, you've recovered so much, use it to fund the budget rather than borrowing. Then they will begin to tell you, oh well, actually,
they are doing
we have recovered, but we do not have it. That is just
what's the recovery?
Exactly. They say some of these things are they are not in liquid form. They are assets.
And that
convert the assets.
That amount recovered is not even up to 30%. That's about 27.something% of the whole money. After 3 months, you have this person.
So, Council, we are still looking at that out of 109 billion. And then 30 billion.
Would they say they have recovered? It would entail like some effort on their part that they were able to get to where this money was being kept and retrieved it. Not tomorrow they'll come and tell us we did plea bargain. A man would steal 100 and something billion.
One person.
Then you do plea bargain and he brings back, let's say, 40 billion, and he keeps on keeping 60 something or 70 billion, and you will tell us we have recovered, and it will sound.
The corruption must go on if that is the case. All right. Well, finally, before we go for today, Nnamdi Kanu, leader of the indigenous people of Biafra (IPOB), on Thursday accused the Department of State Services (DSS) of denying him access to his medication and equally starving him for this number of days, for about 9 days now. The Kano special lawyer, Aloy Ejimakor, made this known to the public.
Yes, I think it's obvious that the Nnamdi Kanu issue doesn't have any legal bearing here. It's just a political thing. It is political. It's becoming clear. Because if it were not so, or if it was not to be so, I wouldn't know why an appeal court of the land will rule, and the Attorney General will decide which of the rulings to adhere to, or to stick with, or to adopt, to even interpret what a court of competent jurisdiction has said. But that's by the way. But I think all this points to something. And the earlier the people in this region who are closely affected by this, because people have been sitting at home every Monday, because Kanu is still in detention. A lot of things have happened. Economically, we are losing. It behoves the leadership of this region, even Ohanes and the governors, they begin to talk about this thing. It's no longer what one can actually keep quiet about. So, what is the competition? What are they doing? What are they saying? If they were able to put a little pressure on the president to relax and to open temporarily the second Niger bridge that is yet to be delivered, why can't they bring about this conversation too? This country belongs to everybody. You understand? It belongs to everybody. And if at all a part thereof is being subjected to either economic hardship or anything, it affects eventually everybody too. So this is something I expect the leadership of this region to even talk about. Then the issue of Kano, Nigerian government must be very careful the way they handle that young man's issue. Because mind you, the United Nations reporting group had come out to say this is illegal detention. That, and then the court of this country has actually ruled that Kano be awarded some compensation. So this is something the government, the other day Biden was saying, I think 2 days ago, that Buhari is a champion of democracy. I was wanting to ask Biden whether he, who is America's president, fully understands what the implications of democracy simply means. So that is a conversation I feel the leadership of this region.
Okay, Council, having been discharged and acquitted by a court of competent jurisdiction, irrespective of the political political involvement, is he supposed to be stopped even while in custody?
Well, there is no doubt that the travels of Mr. Nnamdi Kanu are far from being legal. His travels are actually political. That is the truth of the matter. When Ohanes Ndigbo and other well-meaning leaders approached Mr. President and appealed to him to release Mazen Nnamdi Kanu, Mr. President insisted that the matter is in court, and let the court that he will abide by the rule of law. He gave that undertaking and asserted as much. That was he actually done. He sent them back to the court. Now the courts have finally spoken, and the same federal government under Mr. Oga Chief Driver is refusing to obey the court. In my humble view, that is double standard. That's double speak. You give with the right hand, you take with the left hand. Coming back to what you said, there is a decision by the highest court in Nigeria that when somebody has been sentenced to death, in Nigeria it is the mode of execution recognized by law is death by hanging. The fact that that person has been sentenced to death does not mean that you should now just wake up and kill him. For example, you cannot use lethal injection to kill him. You cannot kill him by firing squad. You cannot club him to death. You cannot poison him to death. You cannot starve him to death. I repeat, you cannot starve him to death. That is for somebody who has been convicted of a capital offense. This one, you are dealing with somebody that the court, there are several judicial decisions stating that this man is innocent. And then you, claiming that you will abide by the rule of law, you will flagrantly disobey or discountenance those decisions. Not only do you refuse to release him, you now begin to starve him. It is illegal, not just unlawful. It is illegal to deprive him. It is illegal to continue to detain him there against the judgments of the court. It is illegal while he's in detention to deny him anything that ordinarily he's entitled to have, including medication, including food, including access to doctors, lawyers, and even therapists. So one would begin to argue or say that I mean, there's no other way of looking at it other than say that the federal government is trying to achieve through the back door what it could not achieve through the front door. You've accused him of everything. You've arraigned him in court. The courts have said he is innocent. Let him go. I mean, it's very clear. What part of the judgment is the federal government not understanding? Let him go. Set him free. And you're still holding him and starving him. That's unfair.
That this federal government, through the DSS, is dropping a charge against a terrorist. In fact, a negotiator of
the terrorists.
Yes.
Known terrorists.
Self-acclaimed
terrorists.
to something, you understand? I have
dropped all the charges.
Dropped the charges. Say the event has been overtaken by them. Now you ask yourself, what time? What time are we talking about? Is the time that actually began before Nnamdi Kanu's cases or traverse of? See, in this same part, the federal government has amended charges. They have kept amending charges. Sometimes they amend and the court
re-amend.
Understand? Even the one with which they are now trying to keep him there, they also amended. They keep amending charges. They keep amending.
And the courts keep disagreeing with them.
8 to 15. You now bring it down to 8 again. You see, it tells you something that there is a political way at work to determine Nnamdi Kanu there. You understand? Not even to bring him out and keep him within the confines of the country, to make sure his judgment, if you feel so. So to me, I think it is now political. Since Buhari said, and he told Ohanes Ndigbo that it will follow, that Nnamdi Kanu will face the judiciary or the law. It's no longer about the law. They are the ones.
Okay, Counsel, just 1 minute before we leave because of our time. Now that a court of competent jurisdiction, as big as a court of appeal, set him free, discharged him, and acquitted him, and then they come up with either amended charges or whatever charge, can he be re-convicted again? Can he be convicted again?
The judgment of the Court of Appeal is subsisting. It is higher than the decision of the High Court. Now, the state has told us that it has appealed to the Supreme Court. It is only if and only if the Supreme Court upturns the decision of the Court of Appeal and that of the High Court and says, remit the case back to the High Court for trial on so and so. That is the only time that you could have a conviction.
But the Supreme Court cannot convict him directly.
The Supreme Court, because the matters were not actually placed on trial. Okay. The court looked at the charges brought and said, this man, you have not said anything against him to even allow him to begin to defend himself. On the strength of only the one you have said, he shouldn't even say anything. Let him go. On the strength of what you have, the state, what you have presented,
yes, you see,
he shouldn't even say anything. Let him go. And then you are trying to now say, no, we will continue holding him.
You know why I love the judgment by the appeal court? They try to establish appearance, that somebody must appear to answer. There is a magazine they use for it, I think. Counsel will do that after backstage. You see, they said appearance is number one thing in the court of. If you must defend the case, you must appear. Now, to prove appearance, where did you get this man from? How did you produce him? And that was the basis they stood to say, this man, from giving the manners and when they were and what transpired, you understand? The unlawful rendition of this man. You shouldn't even be talking about it.
And I'm not aware, yes, I'm not aware that even the money that the federal government was asked to pay him, that judgment, I'm not aware that the federal government has appealed against it. The one I am sure, I said I'm not aware,
yes.
So I could be wrong on that. But the one I am sure about, that they are quarreling about, is the one that is enabling them to hold him. Not the one that has asked them to pay him something. So let them start showing the good faith by paying what the Federal High Court said they should pay to him. while they still pursue the criminal remedy.
All right, wonderful viewers, that's the much we are going to take for today. Remember, tomorrow is Saturday. Living TV Club will take place tomorrow, so you can also make your inquiries at office at number 1 George Street, opposite Zema Police Station here in Aba. Make your inquiries and be part of the moving train, and I'm sure you are not going to regret it. And having said that, for today, from my far left is Nnamdi Elekwachi. Nnamdi Elekwachi, thank you for being part of today's program.
It's always my pleasure to be here. Thank you, Mr. Montana.
And Barrister Chukwuemeka Nwogu, we are happy having you.
Thank you, sir. Bye, viewers.
And viewers, this is Chineduma Dele, your anchor man, signing off for today. But remember, outside tomorrow, on Tuesday, we are going to look at the local government, the third tier of government, holistically. So you must be there to know what is happening. For me, for now, it's bye.